Home Studio Tutor, the podcast. For independent home recording engineers, music producers, and entrepreneurs. Motivation, inspiration, and education. Home Studio Tutor, the podcast. Let your transformation begin. All right, welcome to Home Studio Tutor. We're excited about the guest that we have lined up for today. Gary Dann is the owner of Boom Room Recording Studios. It's one of the premier recording studios in Philadelphia. And I have had the pleasure of watching Boom Room just grow from this kind of startup recording studio to being just one of the dominant players in the Philadelphia area. Gary has a very interesting story because obviously he didn't start out as a recording studio owner. And we're going to today talk about that journey and, as always, give you that motivation, that inspiration, and guidance that'll help you get to where you're trying to get to with your creative goals. Gary Dann, welcome, man.
What's up, Samori? Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. I've been looking forward to this for a while, my man.
Awesome, man.
So, Boom Room Recording Studios, man. You guys are doing some incredible things, man. I love what I see on Instagram and all the social platforms. Can you just tell us a little bit about Boom Room and kind of what it's all about?
Sure. So it's a rehearsal, recording, live video studio, and we do private events. Initially, when I was opening the space, I only thought it was going to be a recording studio. But I kind of let it pick what it wanted to do, and I just helped it, and it became all those other things. So it kind of morphed into what it was meant to be. So let's go back a little bit, man. Let's talk about pre-Boom Room. I mean, obviously you're an audio engineer. Are you a producer as well? Produce and play drums.
And a drummer as well? So let's talk about before Boom Room. What were you doing, let's say 5 years before you opened Boom Room?
Cool. So before Boom Room, I had a home studio out in West Philly. I had a 2-bedroom apartment. At the time, I had a roommate in the 1-bedroom, and he was like, "Hey, man, I'm moving out to go live with my girlfriend." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "I guess I need to find another roommate." I was like, or I could set up that 2nd bedroom as like a studio. And if I thought about how much his rent was, I think he was paying maybe $400 a month or something. I was like, if I could just make $400 a month off of that room, it'd be the same money as having a roommate, and it would be like no roommate. And that's all I was thinking. So the first person that asked me to record him for money was my friend Andy. He heard a bunch of my own personal recordings. He's like, "Hey man, I have some songs. I play guitar and sing." He like paid me actual money to record him, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like a thing? Like you could just like make money by like recording someone?" Right. And that got me on this path of like bringing in all these clients off of Craigslist. People don't use Craigslist now, but it's more like Facebook now. But back in the day, you remember, man, Craigslist was like how you got music gear or met a guitar player or met client. Like I got so many clients at the time off of Craigslist. So I put up ads on Craigslist every day that said, "Recording studio, $25 an hour, rappers, singers, whatever."
Right.
And then I put up another ad though that said, "Recording studio, $30 an hour." And then I put up another ad, "Recording studio, $40 an hour." I have all these different ads that seemed like it was multiple studios competing with each other, but it was all actually just going to me.
Wow.
And that was the magic of Craigslist. It was just anonymous. Anybody could just post anything. So I did that for a while, and I built up a lot of clients, mostly like hip hop, rap. I've recorded a lot of rap mixtapes in my day.
Right.
And a lot of hip hop, a lot of singers, not really a lot of band stuff, but I was playing in bands. I'm a drummer, and that's my number one instrument.
Okay.
Actually, when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a drummer before any of the other stuff, engineer, producer, whatever. Through recording people in my home studio and being in the like live band scene, I met C Knowledge, aka Doodlebug from the Diggable Planets, a Grammy Award winning hip hop group from
One
the
of my
90s.
favorite groups, yes.
Cool Like That.
Yes.
And he certainly was cool like that because he was my friend and client for about 3-4 years in and out of the studio, recording and stuff. And then one day I was like, he was like, oh man, this beat, he brought over a beat. He's like, this beat doesn't really have any like body to it. And I was like, well, I'm a drummer, you know that? He's like, oh yeah. I recorded some drums. Next thing I know, he's like, yo man, actually let's make an album together. And then next thing I know, he's like, hey man, the Diggable Planets, the band that he was a part of that broke up in the 90s, he's like, are having a reunion and we need a drummer. And we actually need a whole band. So I brought in my two best homies, the bass player and the guitar player, and we toured around the world on and off for about 5 years with the Diggable Planets. So I've had the opportunity to play Cool Like That and Nickel Bag of Funk all across the world, Europe, like 13 countries. We toured US a bunch of times. It was an amazing experience. I got to be the drummer in one of my favorite rap groups of all time, and play in front of thousands of people that are like love hip hop. And I got to connect with these amazing musicians. And then I'd be on tour, and then I'd come back to Philly and have my home studio in West Philly recording people. And I'd slowly built it up where it was like, yo man, I need a space. Like I can't be having like professionals walking through my living room to get to the studio.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I just thought I need to do this professionally. I didn't go the path that most studio owners and engineers go, which they intern in a studio and they learn the ropes and they, I didn't learn the ropes at all. I taught myself the ropes by doing it out of this 2-bedroom apartment for like 5 years.
Right. That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story.
So got to tour with this famous band and then came back to Philly and was like, I need a space. And my dear friend, whose birthday is today.
Happy birthday, dear
Happy
friend.
birthday, Jules.
There you go.
He is also the bass player in the band I play in now. He's a musician and we jammed all the time. He's bass, I'm drums. We always would jam together. And I called him up and I said, hey man, I actually have 2 issues. The 2 issues are, I need to find a space that is a professional, like legally licensed space where I can build a recording studio that isn't in my home. And I want to do something professional and epic. I said, the second thing is I'm going on tour with the Diggable Planets in 2 weeks and we don't have a bass player. And he's like, well, I can help you with both of those things. And in that phone call, we changed each other's lives. I brought him on tour with a famous band. It was his life's dream to go on tour. I brought him on with a famous band that he's loved since he was 15 years old.
Right.
And he helped me find my dream of finding the property. Because on that phone call, he said, I know a place. It wasn't like we went and looked at places. He's just like, I know a place. He's like, it's at the corner of Front and Thompson. It's under the L. It's across from a venue called Kung Fu Necktie. I was like, I know that corner. And he's like, it's not for sale, but we can get it. My man Jules is a real estate and construction like guru. Right. And his actual life's mission is to help people's dreams come true. If you ever need help, man, like talk to Jules. Big Jules is the guy, dude.
The guy?
He helps people's dreams come true, and he helped mine come true, and he helped me figure out and navigate jumping through hoops to purchase the property, even when it wasn't for sale. He like bulldogged the owner into like selling it to me, helped me through the process of buying it, even when I thought, I can't buy a property. I'm like, I'm an engineer working out of my apartment by myself. I don't have that kind of money. He showed me that it was possible, and then helped me do the build out and construction and get some financing to do that. And then, in October of 2011, I opened the Boom Room.
2011. That's awesome, man. That's a lot of good stuff there, Gary, man. So
it's been a journey, bro.
It has been, man. And I want to unpack a lot of that bit by bit, man, because there's so much great information. I mean, I could just spend 2 hours asking you about the diggable planets, honestly. But let's go back to the apartment, because you said something that I thought was very interesting, and that had to do with using Craigslist. Of course, at that time, Craigslist was big. It was a great tool that a lot of us use to get business or to sell gear or buy gear or whatever, but it was what was available to get the word out. So the point I'm making is, from the very beginning, you operated like a business. Definitely. And I think that is one of the most important takeaways of this first bit, because there are a lot of people, a lot of our listeners have home studios. A lot of them. They're making beats in their home studios. They're recording a lot of the same things that you were doing. But you decided, listen, I need to generate some business, so I'm going to go to Craigslist. What kind of motivated you? What were you thinking at that time? Because obviously you were like, I got to make money. But what was the impetus? Like, were you always thinking business, or were you?
So yes, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. It's kind of hilarious, but when I was about, how old was I, man? I was probably only like 11 years old or 12 years old. Probably about 12. I found a stack of Playboy magazines, okay? And it was the greatest thing I ever saw in my life, but also I thought, oh, I could sell these. And I sold them for like $10 a piece. Right. And I had $100. And I was like 12, and it was and I remember just being like, "Whoa!" So there you go.
So you got that entrepreneurial thing.
I had that entrepreneurial spirit since the beginning.
From the beginning. Yeah. So if someone's got a home studio now, obviously Craigslist isn't what it was at that time.
Sure.
What would you do today? What would you recommend cats do?
What would I do today?
Yeah, to get that business, to generate traffic.
I would immediately start an Instagram.
Yep.
I would. I think Instagram is the new that.
Right.
And I would post every day all the cool stuff I was doing. And I have a little thing that I say, like, if you wanted, and it's so simple and almost silly. It's almost so simple that Nike boiled the whole thing down to just 1 3-word phrase, just do it. Right. But just do it. Like, if I tell people, you want to be a photographer? Cool, get a camera, start taking pictures. Right. Make a business card that says photographer with your name on it. Make a website that says on the business card that links to the website that, you can see all your photos. Take photos for free. Volunteer to take photos at somebody's wedding. Volunteer to take at a concert. Like, just take photos every day. Just do it. Right. And then eventually somebody's going to be like, hey, actually, I have this thing I need photos for. And you could be like, well, I'm not pro. I'm not really that good yet, but $50, man. Can you give me $50? Right. And they'll be like, yeah. And then, fast forward 3 years from now, you're a pro photographer getting paid what pros get paid. Right. There was no on-off switch where it was off and then on, where you went from like, I don't know what I'm doing, to pro. It didn't switch. It's not black and white. It's this fine area of gray that you're in, that I'm still in, I feel like, even though I'm doing, I'm able to keep my head above water and pay all my bills and stuff through music. There's still this, I'm still in the gray area. Right. So the journey continues. The journey continues, and you're always on that. But I think it's important to note that, like, no one is the final thing. So even if you're just starting out, you're making beats or you're recording and mixing people, like, you may not be as good as this guy right here who's been doing it for years, but you're worth something. 100%. And there's a market out there for you. And there's a market out there for you. Yes, absolutely. And what you're going to charge to get paid for your services is going to be on the level of what that person is ready to pay. Right, 100%. So you would recommend, hey, get an Instagram, man. Just do it. Get your business card. Set up your website. Obviously, start recording people for free. If you don't have any clients that day, put a thing on Facebook. Who wants to record for free? Record 10 people for free. take a lot of pictures and videos of those free sessions. And then for the next month, just post, look, we had blah, blah, blah in the studio today. Then we had the next day. And just keep posting. And people will be like, oh, it's a studio. Oh, and tag those people and ask those people that got the free session to repost the post so they see people so other people see your studio. Because all artists have artist friends and followers.
Of course. That's great advice, man. So then let's stay on the home studio. So when you first opened this home studio, tell me about that setup. I mean, before the financing, before the budget, what
Sure.
did that setup look like? What software were you using?
I built my own PC. I pirated a lot of software. I think yeah. Don't download the Waves package that everyone has and uses.
Right.
I was, I pay for my software now, but when I was starting out, I didn't have money for it, man, and you got to do what you got to do.
Yes. We definitely advocate you go out, invest in yourself.
You got to buy it.
Pay for your software.
You want to buy it.
There you go.
And it was the closet was the vocal booth. I had some like cheap like acoustic panels and it was a PC. I think I was running Sonar.
Okay, I remember Sonar.
I was really into Sonar. I kind of like miss it a little bit because of the way certain things that it did that I like better than Pro Tools, which I use all the time.
Yeah, the workflow in Sonar was cool.
It was cool.
Yes, it had a great little workflow.
It felt like quicker or something too, or something. I was using Sonar and on a PC. I had a really crappy Samsung mic, and a FirePod interface. What's it called? Focusrite, or I don't know.
Audio. It was audio interface.
Yeah, cheapo audio interface, and I just went in, man. Every day I was in there every day for years. For like 5 years, I was in there all day, every day.
Right. Because so many people think, okay, I'm going to start this studio, but first I got to get a Mac before I can take myself seriously. Or first I got to get this $2,000 mic. What are your thoughts about that? You had a PC that you built. You were using Sonar, not Pro Tools. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are just get it done.
Yes, sir.
Get it done. And when I'm listening to the final product and I'm like, damn, that sounds so good, I don't care what you used. So just get it done. But a nice mic and a nice pre and a nice interface helps. At the time I was using a really crappy condenser and really brittle sounding preamps. And, but I was still recording a Grammy winner.
How about that?
And he wanted to work with me and he was like, yo, it sounds great. And so a lot of it is vibe too, bro.
Yes.
And you know this by just having your space here. Like the not to like name drop, but one of my favorite people that has ever come to the Boom Room and worked with me is Billy Paul.
Oh, absolutely.
Before he passed away. And the first time he was in the studio, I was so nervous, or before he was coming, I was like so nervous because it was like when my studio first opened, I didn't have all the like nice gear that I have now and stuff. And I was like, oh damn, there's like the mics aren't that nice and this isn't that nice. And the board is like so old and this channel crackles and I realized he's like, oh man, I love this place. Like at the end of the day, he's like, you know why I love this place? He's like, because my wife can go to the bathroom and it's clean.
Oh, see.
And I was like, he didn't even care about what mic we had.
How about that? No.
I was like, wow, he just liked that it was all clean and the good vibe.
Right. It's about the connection, man. It's about the song first, right? It's always about the record. I was watching something recently about Billie Eilish. There's a really great little news story about Billie Eilish, and they were saying her and her brother recorded this major record in his bedroom, right? No soundproofing, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Because these songs were really great. So I got to harken back to what you said, man. Just do it. You know, guys, girls that are at home recording, whatever computer you have, whatever software you have, just record it. It's about those songs, and it's about putting those 10,000 hours in at the end of the day.
And you'll get better, and gear's cheap now, so you could just always pick up something, you know, use what you got for a little while, upgrade. My whole life, I'd get like $100 from recording somebody, and I literally take that $100 and just go buy music gear.
Right.
Like I always reinvest in yourself and your business. So yeah, you want to keep getting better gear, because it does matter when you're competing with like everyone else, that has that gear. But in a way, you know, like I was saying about the Billy Paul thing and the Billie Eilish thing, like it, you know, you can get away with not having it be like, you know, the best. Bjork, one of my favorite singers, Bjork, was it the last album I saw an interview or something? She recorded the whole thing on her MacBook, built-in microphone, with the sound coming out of the speakers. She just sang into the microphone.
Right.
That was crazy.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, bro, let's jump ahead now. We're at the Boom Room now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you went from your apartment, man, you started getting those clients in, you know, you really built and developed what you were doing. So now you got the Boom Room, you know, like you say, it kind of started slowly. I've been watching, and you guys are doing some interesting things, you know. So one of the things I've noticed, you know, being in the studio business is as the years go on, more and more people have home studios.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people would ask me, well, man, with everybody having a home studio, like how are you surviving and what's going on? And one of the things I heard you say early on indirectly is you're diverse. You've allowed the studio to be what it was going to be, but there's a lot of diversification.
Sure.
So let's talk about that. How has diversification in your product and services helped you to grow and build?
Sure. If I had to rely on any one element of the Boom Room or any one service, I would be in a tough spot. I might be out of business. The fact that I do rehearsals and events and a little bit of everything makes it so I'm able to keep my head above water. It's interesting how all that stuff happened. I like I said, I thought it was just going to be recording. Then one day these guys go, "Hey, can we rehearse there?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I guess, I don't know, give me $25 an hour or something. I don't know." Like, and they were like, "Sure." And I was like, "Whoa." And then somebody was like, "Yo, can we throw a party here? Like, this is a great space to throw like a DJ party." And I was like, "That wasn't part of the plan, but sure." And I just rented the space. And then I realized, that is the key to the whole thing is versatility. I had this like producer engineer meeting at the Boom Room one time, and I got to meet a bunch of my mentors, like older cats, older than us, that have been doing this engineering for years. I mean, some Grammy winners and everything. And they were all getting together. We had this like meetup, and they were complaining that there's no more business. There's no business for them, and all they do is engineer. They engineered their whole life. They sat behind a board their whole life, mixed bands, engineered bands, and now there's no business for them. And the home studio thing is affecting guys like that. But I got up and I talked and I said, like, I see that, but for me, my business is doing really well. But if I had to just rely on engineering, recording people, it would not be.
Right.
It's the rehearsals. It's the events on the weekends. It's the little, video shoots or, a podcast every now and again or whatever. All of the little things add up to make it be a successful business.
Yes.
Because, yeah, if I was just if you were just recording and not doing lessons, you know what I mean? Like, you have to do all this other stuff to all add up, to make it all add up at the end of the month.
That's right. And with that diversification, for you saw kind of what naturally happened, right? For me, it was having that passion for teaching. So a lot of times, guys and girls who are recording, what is that other complementary service,
Sure.
that you can add that complements what it is you're doing? I mean, I know people who have recording studios, but they're into the video production thing as well, or whatever it is. But I agree. I think the diversification is very important.
Yeah. The event thing has been the biggest surprise and the most like created the most random and exciting parts of the journey.
The events?
The events. The space is cool because there's like an outdoor side of it. There's a whole outdoor space and indoor space, and there's a couple different areas people can go. And it's like really cool for a party, especially in the spring and summertime. Like you want to have an indoor outdoor event. So there was a wedding there. The singer in my band got married there. One of my other band members that passed away, we had his like post-funeral thing with his whole family and everything there, like everything in between, a wedding, a funeral, and everything in between. There'll be like birthday parties or DJ parties or, you know, band showcases. We do a lot of like band showcase stuff.
Right. Yeah, I saw somebody got married there. I thought that was super cool, man. So I tell you what, we're going to round this out a little bit.
Yeah.
But if there was one piece of gear that you purchased that you felt like was a game changer for your sound, what was that piece of gear?
So when you say your sound, do you mean as a studio or as an artist?
As a studio.
As a studio.
Recording folks. What was that piece of gear that you said, wow, you know what? This is different.
I really like the Ready Box. The Ready Box is a red box about this big with a glass tube inside. And it's for recording bass, but you can also use it on guitar. I've used it on kick drum and vocals. And it just, bass is hard to mix.
Okay.
Bass is really hard to mix, and I find that if I record a bass using that piece of gear, I don't need to do anything to it.
Really? Now, is that a preamp? What is the Ready Box?
It's a DI.
It's a DI.
It's
okay.
a type of DI.
Okay.
That just happens to have a glass like vacuum tube inside.
Got you. So you're running your bass into the Ready Box, and then the Ready Box is going into your interface.
Yep, exactly. Instead of miking the amp or running the bass directly into the interface, I don't have to do anything to the bass ever, and everyone's always like, "Whoa, that bass sounds great."
See, who makes the Ready Box?
A Designs. It's just some guy.
Some guy. Yeah.
That probably makes like 200 of them a year or something, and yeah.
All right, man. It was really cool, man. It's been great.
Yeah, it's really nice talking to you too, man.
Get a chance to meet you, man.
Yeah.
Like the way that I feel, the reason why we do the Home Studio Tutor podcast is because, you know, you can kind of show somebody what you'll do or what you do, and they'll make a pretty good project. But if you teach them how to do it, they'll build a career.
Yeah,
and so that's why we're here, man. It's a joy to kind of be in the same space with you here in Philadelphia, man, doing what we do,
Same,
man. And I wish you nothing but success, bro.
Same, man. Same.
All right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Home Studio Tutor, we are out. We thank you
Peace,
for
y'all.
tuning in, and we'll be back very, very soon. Keep making music, and like Gary said and like Nike says, just do it.
Yeah.